But Mike wants to know about your strategy in salary or auction drafts. So yeah, almost all of my leagues are auction drafts, 12 teams, $200 cap. Would love to hear your thoughts. And yes, I agree. I would love to spend a lot of time on this, but let me give you guys 2 to 3 minutes. And Dan, I know you love this format. You always advocate for auctions. So give me a starting point if I'm doing one. What do I do?
Starting point for auctions for me is you got to build your own plan for the auction. So you have to, in my mind, you have to allocate how much you want to spend at each position. But what I really like to do for auctions, especially if it's not if it's an auction that's been done already with that league in that format, is use last year's results, then sort them by position, then put those results next to your rankings with those numbers. And you now have an idea of what each tier and each range of running back is going to actually go for. And you could build out mock teams via that. Now, if you don't have a year of results from a league, this is something maybe to do in year 2. If you're starting year 2, you could still probably use projected values or ranked values and then put them in an order and figure out where you can start to build your team out. So let's say you can look at it like, I want to go hero running back. You can know what you're going to have to spend on that one running back and then build out your receiver core, your tight end, your quarterback after that based on that. So if you're doing a 1 QB league, my strategy is probably in auction, especially do not pay for QB. It's okay in Snake to pay for it, I think. In auction, I think you're better off just waiting for that 12th, 13th quarterback and getting 2 of those guys in that range. And they're always going to go for like $2 or $3 at that point because nobody wants to spend on a backup quarterback. They've gotten their starter. It's a little bit different than a snake when you'll see people kind of reach for that backup quarterback because it's a snake. That's one of my strategies. A few others would be bidding strategies I can give you would be never bid on the guy you want. Never nominate the guy you want. Always nominate a guy you don't want. Always nominate a buzz player if you don't want him, if he's buzzy. Always nominate. If you spend big at quarterback, start nominating quarterbacks. If you spend big at running back and only plan to go one running back, start nominating running backs immediately as you can. Also, if you play with a kicker or defense, I like the idea of nominating the kicker and the best kicker in the defense you want early. Best case, you get them for $1. Worst case, you get someone to spend $2 of their budget on that player. Either way, it's a win for you. It's a very easy win-win scenario for you. So that one I like. Let me think of any others that come to mind. Just off the top of my head. That's definitely a good starting point.
Good. Yep. Okay. Dave?
The tiers were invented as a strategy piece for auctions, meaning that you're going to put players in groups of expectations. And then when the auction begins and you start seeing, you'll see what Christian McCaffrey goes for. You'll see what Austin Eckler goes for. Now you've got an idea of what you should spend on the next tier of running backs or maybe even Bijan, and it should be cheaper than that. The first thing you have to do is tier up your players. And whether you just copy somebody else's tiers or you make your own or you adjust your own after seeing somebody else's, it's a necessity. The other thing you have to commit to is paying attention in your auction. You want to see who's got the most budget left to spend.
Yep.
And one of the things that you can do to nominate is nominate players that team might need to spend a lot of money on. For example, someone in your league still has 80% of their budget. They don't have any wide receivers. Nominate the receiver that you think is going to go for the most money so that they go and they spend their cash. You want people to burn through their cash. That's another reason why you want people to necessarily spend more on quarterback. You tend to see that happen more in auctions than you do in snake draft. So I think Dan's right about that. Look for a little bit more of a value on quarterbacks in an auction. I also love the 20-50 rule. Save 20% of your budget for the last 50% of the nominations in the auction. You will be so glad if you do that because you will find
that's a lot, right? I mean,
what do you mean that's a lot?
Just to put in perspective, if you do that, you'll have more money than most people. Right.
And you will be able to pick up a couple of steals.
Yes.
Because it's human nature. People love to spend. People love to shop. And so when they're in these auctions, everybody's all hyped up and they're going to go and they're going to spend their bucks as soon as they can. If you're a little bit patient about it and you're keeping track of what everybody goes for, you will, I promise, you will come away with some steals, or at very least 3 players or 4 players that you'll get for $2 or $3 that you'll be thrilled to have on your team, even if it's on your bench.
And that right there is the beauty of the auction too. The fun part of the auction is, or it's the snake, everyone's going by a list. No one falls through the cracks. In an auction, players fall through the cracks and they get nominated later. And then as Dave's saying, if you've saved some of your budget, you're taking these players. You're the one who has $3 to spend on these players.
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay.
Those are the big keys. And there'll be we're going to do an auction live stream. There'll be auction strategy pieces on the website.
Yep.
We got you.
Starting next week.
It's the best way to build a team.